OK, now our big medical story of the morning. The film actor Michael Douglas, he looked back at his battle with throat cancer. And earlier this week in the newspapers there was a suggestion, which emanated from him in the first place, that it was caused through performing oral sex. But then his people have since denied he said this, saying he did not say oral sex was the specific cause of this cancer. But it has left a question, and that question is?
Well, it's got us all talking. Can cancer actually be linked to oral sex? And today we are joined by Chris Curtis. Now, Chris has fought the same throat cancer as Michael Douglas, and also with us Dr. Rob Hicks, who says that as the number of sexually transmitted infections increase, the likelihood is that there will be an increase in throat cancer. Good morning to you both. This has got everybody talking, Chris, hasn't it? Because nobody's ever really linked oral sex with cancer. I've never heard of that. So what did you think when you read about this? Because you've had the same sort of throat cancer as well.
Well, I got diagnosed Friday the 13th, 2011, with throat cancer at the time. The following week I didn't know anything about it. I just went into complete denial. And it wasn't until I joined the support group that I started asking questions, why me? Once I started getting and feeling a lot better, then it's like, why me? Of all the people, why me? And then I found out about HPV and then started digging in and just found more and more about it.
So right, HPV, doctor. We will have heard this before because on this very programme we have talked about particularly young girls being susceptible to this and being vaccinated against this. So it now appears that it can be transmitted to men as well.
Absolutely. HPV, human papillomavirus, it's the wart virus. So it's it's a family of viruses that cause verrucas on the feet, warts on the hands, but we've got high-risk versions, high-risk types 16 and 18, which are responsible for the majority of cases of cervical cancer, and indeed are found in lots of the throat cancers, and indeed, you know, Chris is an example of this. So I don't want to worry people who say, who might be diagnosed with genital warts, for example, another, different strains cause those, but I think it's something that we do need to think about, and we've been talking a lot about it this week in healthcare, the way that we can protect people and indeed reduce the risk of these.
Vaccinate or abstain from?
Yeah, on the one hand, the ideal way of preventing transmission of this virus, which is through contact or sexual contact, is through abstinence, isn't it? But we're not going to ever achieve that in reality, so we're thinking of protective yourself with condoms, certainly making it less likely that the virus will keep hold by not smoking, for example. We know that in the mouth, HPV is more likely to develop an infection if somebody is a smoker. So there's lots of different ways of addressing this. The important message, I think, is what should people be doing as far as recognising the possible symptoms so that they don't just take it for granted this is a common garden sore throat infection, for example, and then don't seek help, and then it becomes too late.
Well, Chris, let's talk about symptoms, because yours started off as a small lump on the side
like
of your neck.
a little lump on this side of the neck, very, very small, and it just was, when I was shaving, I thought, it's my glands swollen, I've got swollen glands, I've got a sore throat, I've got swollen glands, just ignored it. And then over a period, I would say about 6 to 8 weeks, it started getting bigger and bigger.
Now, let me just ask you, 6 to 8 weeks is a long time before you went to the doctor. And even then, reading about you, it's classic, we hear it so many times on this programme, Chris, Rob, don't we, is that your wife was the one that persuaded you. You kept saying, oh, it's nothing, nothing, nothing.
Yeah, well, I'm a man, you don't go to doctors if you're a man, do you? That's the women's place. So I just ended up saying to the wife, what do you think about this? Because it's getting bigger. And she makes the appointment with the doctor, and I'm at the doctor's, and he said, well, we'll fast-track you, Chris, just to get you in front of somebody. It won't be cancer, but we'll get you in front of somebody. And then a week later, Friday the 13th, I'm being told I've got cancer. So, and then the world falls apart.
If you think...
the other symptoms I had was tiredness, but I put that down to my age. Falling asleep from 8 o'clock at night, it was always a joke. Someone come around, the lights were turned off, and I was asleep. I got told that I started getting a rusky voice. I didn't realise that, but it was over time I got a rusky voice. And I had a horrible cough of a morning that used to even annoy the neighbours. But then within about an hour, 2 hours, it had gone. So
and just to put this in perspective, all the treatment and everything, and the extraction, the operation that Chris underwent here, this man is now half the size that he used to be. That's fair enough, isn't it?
Yeah, 22 stone I was in May 2011. I didn't eat for some 14 months because going through the radiotherapy, 46 days of radiotherapy burns the outside as well as burns the inside. And if you can ever think about the worst suntan you'll ever have, and then 100 times that, it's not only that on the outside, but it's also on the inside of the throat.
Painful.
Doctor, if a woman, and we talked about the vaccination, if a woman is vaccinated against this HPV, does that, obviously that protects her, but does that then lessen the risk of this being spread?
Yes, because if a woman in a relationship doesn't have the virus, then she can't spread it to somebody else. But the problem is that in modern day sort of sexual behaviours, people often have different partners, and one person may not be protected, but another person has got the virus, therefore they can then pick it up as well. I think, you know, what Chris highlights is that not only that men are slow to go to the doctors, but women get this problem as well. But if you've got a sore throat that's lasting more than 3 weeks, if you've got earache that's lasting more than 3 weeks, if you're having difficulty swallowing, if you've got a lump in the neck, if your voice has changed, go along and get a checkup. Now, the reality is, for the most part, that won't turn out to be throat cancer.
Yeah.
But if it should do, then the sooner it's treated, the better.
Is imperative. But what about, you're talking there about vaccinations and spreading it, you know, why don't they vaccinate boys then? So we vaccinate girls. If it's passed between the two, why are we not vaccinating young boys?
And Australia now are vaccinating boys and men against HPV, and I know that in health circles within the UK it's being discussed, because, you know, we mustn't forget that also the vaccination that's used to help protect girls from cervical cancer also protects them from genital warts as well. And I work in a sexual health clinic, and we see lots and lots of men and women with this infection also. So by vaccinating, you're protecting people, the girls at the moment, not just from cervical cancer, but also from genital warts. Now, there will be a knock-on. If you protect the girls, then the boys will automatically are less likely to be exposed. But in the meantime, until we reach levels of vaccination where protection is very, very good, called herd immunity, then I think it's something that really needs to be considered, that we think about the boys and indeed the men as well.
And Chris, had you linked oral sex with cancer before you heard about Michael Douglas?
No,
Had you looked into that?
Never. No, it's just something I'd never even thought about. But the trouble is, it's not just oral sex. You can transfer it by skin-to-skin touching. You can transfer it through kissing. If you've got it on your hands and you touch someone near the mouth, you can do it that way. Well, I don't want people thinking that it's a horrible sexually transmitted disease, because it's not. And, you know, it's not...
But it's the same with warts or anything. People get very embarrassed and think, oh, you know, I wasn't doing anything untoward.
You can catch it by having one partner all your life. You haven't got to be someone that has multi-partners.
OK, well, thanks, guys, very much. Anything you want to say, Doctor?
I just want to say, I think that the major risk factors for throat cancer, smoking and excessive alcohol consumption. And have a check-up with your dentist. You can have a jolly good look around your mouth and try and spot those signs.
Well, what I would say is I never smoked in my life. I've never smoked and I've never been a drinker. Yeah, it still happens to me. So just because you drink and smoke, or you don't, you just still get checked up.
I must say, my dentist's very good about checking my mouth for various things, and he often says to me, what's that, and it's always that Ruth's made the tea too hot. It's true, it's true. I say to him...
You're lucky you get your tea made.
No, but you know my view on hot tea. I bet you the doctor has a view on hot tea. Tea should not be so hot that it burns the roof of your mouth.
I never criticise the person who's making a cup of tea for me.
Bring your least to your worries.
And Chris, keep well. You look very well, my friend. Bit drastic, you know, getting your weight down, but look at all the benefits with that as well. Good seeing you. Keep well. Thank you very much indeed.